Hi, YouTube. How are you? So, I am going to do a review on a show that I just started watching. I watched the entire first season of Sons of Anarchy, and I want to review it and talk about what I just watched. I think there were 13 episodes of the first season, and here's my review. Well, before I actually get into what I've learned about the show, I do want to compare it to other shows that I have seen. Now, I was a big fan of Game of Thrones, which everyone knows. I also watched the show Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, and I recently, a couple weeks ago, just watched the entire series of Sex in the City, which I discussed in another video and wrote something about in my articles. But yeah, that's my cat in the background. She's such a photo bomber. She's such an attention hog. She's just like me. It's so funny. Anyway, oh yeah, I know it's weird, right? I have hair on today, and my last video I was like bald. Well, figure it out. Anyway, I back to Sons of Anarchy. I'm gonna put this in the same sort of category. This show is like it has a lot in common with Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. I think that all three shows have some similar stuff going on and they have different settings, different characters, and different motivations. But if you liked Breaking Bad and or The Walking Dead, then you probably would like Sons of Anarchy. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's go on about the review now. And how I'm gonna do this is in season one, which is all I've seen so far. So I don't know how many seasons there are, and it's gonna probably take me a while, but I'm gonna go through each season with this show. So after I watch season two, I'll come back and do a review on season two. But for now, all I've got is season one, to my knowledge. The show was created by Kurt Sutter, and it's about a biker gang, and they're called Sam Crow. That's like a an acronym for Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club. Uh, so I don't forgot what the last part of it is, but something it has to do with California biker gang. And they actually one of the characters in the show was played by an actor who was actually a real life biker uh, gang guy. So he did some advising also for this show. I can't tell you who the directors or the musical directors were of the show because when I looked up that information online, basically it changed per episode, per season, and there were many people involved in the direction and the music for the show. So I'm just going to skip that. Okay, but I'm going to talk about the actors and the characters they played. I'm going to give you my opinions about the character in season one, and also, tell you what I think of the acting performances. Which really, I didn't see any terrible acting performances, not from any of the cast. So, thumbs up on that. I'm going to start. I'm not going to start with, well, I don't know. I've got a lot of characters here in season one that I wrote down their names and the actors who played them. So I guess I don't know. I'm not. This is going to be sort of random how I talk about these characters and these actors. Okay, so let me start with the main character, which is Jax Teller. And any fans of Sons of Anarchy know who that is, but he's the main character. And his Jax's father was John Teller, who wrote this book, who was the starter, the founder of the Sons of Anarchy, the Sam Crow Club. And so Jax is his son, but he doesn't. In the season one, when we meet Jax and get to know him, we he's not the leader of the club. The leader of the club is Clay, uh, who is Jax's mother's man. So Jax is the vice president when of the club when we start the season with season one. And I'm saying that only because I do know some things that about what's going to happen, because I've been sort of studying this for a while now, as I was also watching other shows. But anyway, Jax is the main character, and he's played by Charlie Hunnam, and he's a very interesting character, and I'll talk more about Jax in a minute. Next is another main character is Gemma Teller, his mother, played by Katie Segal, and I think she's really good actress. I really do. I think that Gemma as a character is very integral to the show. That's based on season one. I can tell that she's not only the mother of the vice president and the sort of like the wife of, yeah, I guess she is the wife of Clay, the leader, but I she's just very knowledgeable about the realities that are going on in this show. She's always looking into people, their motivations. She's always trying to sort of temper the situations where she can sort of maybe keep things uh, you know she reiterates that family is important, and I think that her main motivation is to try to keep things calm in a very chaotic lifestyle when things seem to be emotionally out of control. So I definitely think Gemma is an integral character. Um, there are the other brothers of the Sons of Anarchy Club, and they include Tig, played by Kim Coates, Bobby, played by Mark Boone Jr., Chibs, played by Tommy Flanagan, Juice, played by Theo Rossi, Happy, played by David LaBrava, Clay, of course, the leader, played by Ron Perlman, um, Opie, played by Ryan Hurst, and William Lucking played Piney, and Half Sack is played by Johnny Lewis, uh, and then there's Otto, who is played actually by Kurt Sutter, who created the show. And I'm a little confused about Otto in the first season because I'm not sure. He doesn't really attend the club meetings. And I don't know if that's because he's in jail or it's a little confusing to me about Otto. Um, okay, but that's basically the main characters of the club Sons of Anarchy that I got from season one. Um, then you have the like police people, the legal people, and the main, I guess, sheriff of the town that they're in, which is a fictional town called Charming. The main sheriff's his name is Unser. They call him Unser, and he's an interesting character too, very interesting. But he has a sort of a deputy sheriff. Uh, Called David Hale. And David Hale, this is interesting, is played by Taylor Sheridan, who is the creative force behind the new show Yellowstone. So a lot of people may not be aware that Taylor Sheridan started getting his foot, you know, wet here in this role as David Hale in Sons of Anarchy. So there's the women too. There's also other women besides Gemma Teller, played by Katie Segal. The other women in the show that we are getting to know in season one includes Tara Knowles, which is played by Maggie Siff. Um, there's also uh, Wendy, played by Drea De Matteo. And there's this was really cool. There's a chick named Rita Cherry, or well, Cherry. She goes by Cherry, but I guess her real name was Rita. But she's played by Taryn Manning, and Taryn Manning is such a cool actress that I had seen in another show, also Orange Is the New Black. So that was really cool. There's also Donna, played by Sprague Graydon. And there were some other very, very minor uh, roles, but I don't know the names of the actresses or the names of the characters because they may not have even mentioned their names. And there was also Allie Walker played Agent June Stahl. And I have to give her some props for that acting performance because it was definitely a memorable performance. Uh, okay, so I'm going to talk about these characters now that I've just splewed them all out. There's also some uh, other people that I'm going to mention. Okay, all right. So what did I find out in season one? Well, uh, ooh, it's a lot to take in. It's like the reason why I compare it to Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead is it's got a lot of like that going on. Like what? Shock value and stuff that, I was like, oh man, that's like terrible. That's messed up, you know? It's got a lot of that going on. So uh all right, so I'm gonna like go back to Gemma for a moment because Gemma is constantly saying over and over again, families matters, family, family, family. And when we first are getting to know Jax, him and Wendy, who are married and sort of going through this divorce, because she's a, a junkie. She's addicted to. She's been in and out of rehab, and she's a junkie. And they were like their relationship was sort of on the outs. But she got pregnant with his baby, and uh, he has a son with her, and that's also how we get to know his old high school sweetie, who is Tara, because Tara is the doctor at the hospital who sort of is there and saves his son's life because the baby was born with some defects from Wendy having done drugs while she was pregnant. So that's pretty dramatic opening, you know? I mean, it's kind of dramatic. It's like, whoa, the first thing we're getting to know here is that, you know, this poor little kid's coming into the world like with some really serious problems. Um, divorce, drug addiction. It's not a great start for a kid. So, I was kind of like, whoa, okay, I want to care about these characters. I do want to care about these characters, but um, the but is that I didn't know how to relate to them at first. I was like, okay, I do relate to, not being a perfect mother. I do relate to, being in a situation where you're emotionally confused about something that's coming up, like the Tara and Jax thing. I do relate to Gemma, even though she's playing, the grandmother. I relate to her trying to, help the people you love, even though you didn't necessarily make those decisions. So that's where I was trying to, reach for how I related to the characters, even though there was some really disturbing issues to begin with. Okay, so but we start liking. I started liking Jax right away because he's just this really weird contradiction of brutal and savage, yet also full of heart and love. And it's such a interesting contradiction. And I guess you can see the same thing. Taylor Sheridan in his show Yellowstone. I think that the character of Beth and Jax have a lot in common with that contradiction. They're both so savage, but also so full of love and heart for the people that they care about and their moral code. It's very interesting character. Okay, so then what else happens? Well, okay, the show progresses and we get to know more about the club, which the club is basically like a gang or a mafia. Basically, they're like into doing stuff that most of them are felons. You know, they all did time, and they don't have your classic, you know, let's go find a 9 to 5 job, because they got back out into society and they had to find a way. So this club was their way for them. But they do illegal things. I mean, they're not drug dealers. They're pretty much gun cells. They do gun cells. So they are doing instead of smuggling drugs and dealing drugs, they mostly deal in smuggling and trading and selling guns. Which is interesting. That's interesting because I I mean, I don't know anything about that. I don't. My world is so different from knowing. I mean, stuff that people do. Drug dealings and gun dealings, or the crime stuff. I don't know anything about that. I I only know what people tell me or what I see in entertainment. And so that makes me ignorant, not because I want to be stupid, but because I was sheltered from that kind of lifestyle. And even after I got in trouble with the law, I pretty much just tried to run away and stay away from trouble as much as humanly possible. So I don't really I can't really imagine how scary or how what it takes for these men who are stuck in a situation that may be morally or ethically questionable, but yet that's their only way to survive. That's very deep to me. That's a very deep subject. And I think that that is really, really covered toward the end of season 1, especially with the whole Donna and Opie thing. And I'm going to get to that. Uh, okay, so let's see, what else can I talk about? So as we're getting to know Jax, we're seeing that him and Tara have this thing. They've known each other since high school. They've always like sort of had like unresolved stuff going on there, and she left. She left Charming and left him with a broken heart a long time ago. And then when she went to school to get her doctor degree, and she came back to Charming because she had a restraining order in wherever the heck, Chicago or something, wherever she was, and some guy was stalking her and being a psycho about it, and so she came back to Charming, I guess hoping to leave that behind. Well, she didn't, because this guy, who was agent or something, what was his name? Joshua Cohn. He was some kind of Fed. Um, Played by Jake Carnes. He did a really good performance on that too. He was pretty good at being a psycho. Um, and see, it's weird. It's like, how can I talk about psychos when there's all this violence and criminal activity going on? I know it's really strange, but I think Jane Carnes' character Joshua Kahn sort of puts that in perspective a little bit because you're like, okay, yeah, they're criminals and yeah, they do illegal stuff, but you're always looking at how they treat people on a regular basis and what their intentions are. Kind of like in Breaking Bad. We all loved Walt in the beginning because even though he was being bad, we knew his reasons. His reasons, were always about trying to leave something for his family, for the love of his family. And it wasn't until later on in the show that we started going, something's wrong with Walt, but we didn't really, in the beginning, we understood and we were compassionate about Walt doing what he was doing. And it's the same thing in Sons of Anarchy. See, when the psycho Joshua Kahn comes in and starts stalking and harassing Tara, and she's looking to Jax for help, we're applauding Jax because we don't agree with Khan being a psycho about it. He like, no means no. That's what it's supposed to mean. No means no. So anyway, that was interesting, very interesting. Oh gosh, there's so much that happened in season one. I don't even know. You find out, okay, you start finding out about different gangs. Like there's the Niners, which are sort of like the black gang. Then there's the Spanish gang, which they call the Mayans. And they all have different things that they do and different territories. And yet they interact and sometimes they war against each other. And it's all usually money motivated, or territory motivated. Gosh, where else can I? How else can I explain what I got out of season one? Um, I'll talk about the legal people. Okay, so the legal people. Unser is the sheriff, and David Hale, played by Taylor Sheridan, is sort of like the deputy sheriff. And they butt heads a lot because Unser is like, he just wants to keep Charming as safe as possible. And he does this by trying to maintain honesty and fair dealings with everybody. The people who are, legal and political, people who are, illegal and important because he knows what can happen if you don't keep the peace with them. So Unser is very, very wise. He's been in this town forever and he loves his town and he loves his family and he's very wise. But David Hale, the deputy, sort of is like upset because he wants it to be black and white. He doesn't want it. He doesn't understand Unser and how Unser is influenced or how Unser supports sometimes, what David Hale considers the opposite side of the fence. So, but I think we see how toward the end of season one, how David Hale starts to understand and respect Unser and why Unser is the way he is, because he sees that things that are black and white don't always work out. It's not absolutes, So I think that David Hale's character sort of grows by the end of season one. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the shocking scenes. And or my favorite scenes and the shocking scenes. Okay, so some of my favorite scenes included the emotional stuff that revolved around Abel, the Jax's baby. It was really neat to see how Wendy and Tara, who both love Jax, are able to act kind to each other, not just because they love Jax, because they do have a sort of jealousy about each other, but because of the baby, because they both understand that there's a baby involved and they have to act mature and civil and kind to each other because they all care about each other. And Gemma is part of that too. Gemma, Wendy, and Tara, they all love the same two people, Jax and Abel. So they're all trying to be civil to each other, and it's very interesting to see how the three women interact because they love Jax and Abel. Um, nah, the only thing I really like Gemma, because I think she's very wise, but I did have one issue with her. It was this. Now I told you about a scene I like. Now I'm going to tell you about a shocking scene where I was like, Gemma went overboard. And it has to do with Cherry. Okay, Cherry is this. They called her a tart or a sweet butt or whatever. She's this little girl in a bar basically, and the guys are there doing their business and stuff. And what happens is what happens is Cherry's got her eye on Half Sack. I think it is. I think it's Half Sack, or I don't know, or maybe it was another guy. Well, anyway, I don't remember which guy. She had her eye on one of the guys, and they were dancing and getting to know each other. And then Clay cuts into the dance and decides that he's going to bang her. And you could tell Cherry didn't really want to, but she knew that because of the situation that she was in, if she didn't, it was going to be a big stink and a big scene. And so she just kind of went along with it. Now it gets back because Cherry comes to Charming looking for, I don't know if it was Half Sack or whatever guy she was looking for, the one that she was dancing with. She comes back looking for him, and then Gemma finds out that Clay slept with her, and Gemma takes a skateboard and bashes Cherry's face with the skateboard. That did not look cool. That made Gemma look really bad because eh, Cherry had not, Cherry wasn't trying to hurt her. Cherry wasn't trying to steal her man. Cherry didn't even want to sleep with her man. I mean, it was all on Clay. And she bashed this girl's face for no good reason. The girl was a victim more than, I'm trying to steal your man or I'm trying to hurt you. So that's where I kind of lost some respect for Gemma on when she did that, because she didn't even talk to the girl. She just bashed her face and didn't even talk to the girl. And for someone who's supposed to be, you know, the woman who keeps it all together and the woman with all the wisdom, I thought that was weak. Either weak in the writing of the character or just, I don't know how they could make Gemma act like that when she's supposed to be the wise one. I, I didn't like that. I was like, I mean, if they wanted to show Gemma as being savage or violent, they should have written it different, because to have her bash in this little girl's face who didn't do anything, that was just messed up. So I didn't like that. Uh, okay. The other thing I want to talk about is Agent June Stahl, which they call her ATF or something. She's the one who pretty much comes to town and stirs up all the shit. She's like after the club. She wants to bring the club down, and she stirs up a lot of bad shit. Now, Otto, she goes and tries to make a deal with him and even takes his wife and throws her in jail because for drug stuff or whatever. I don't know. It's just like, so she's trying to wheel and deal with Otto, and Otto pretty much beats the shit out of her, which I saw coming. I was surprised, like no one, I didn't. I saw that coming. Like as soon as he bashed her head into the table, I was almost laughing. Like I couldn't believe that she was so comfortable with him when she was totally doing all of them wrong. I mean, she should have been scared shitless. So that was kind of a little weird. But when he smashed her face, I was like, she asked for it. I mean, she was fucking with them bad. So that part was different. See, when Otto did it, Stahl deserved it, but when Gemma did it to little Cherry, that wasn't right. Okay, so that's some of the violent stuff. Okay. Anyway, the main conclusion of the season one ends up with the Donna and the Opie thing. Now, as Stahl was stirring up all this shit, basically they were trying to wheel and deal with Otto, and they were trying to pin and frame Opie as like a snitch, as a rat. And this is where the drama really gets hectic, because okay, Opie is married to Donna and they have two kids. And Opie has always been part of the club, but he was sort of out of it because Donna didn't want them to be involved in illegal stuff anymore. But they're struggling really bad because Opie can't really make that much money without the club. So he's trying to go back to the club so that, again, kind of like Walt in Breaking Bad, kind of like, we need the money. And he's going back to the club, and he's never done the club wrong. And he's been like the best friend of Jack's, like, again, since high school. They've known each other all their lives. So they all trust Opie until Stahl comes into the picture and frames him as a rat. And then the leader, Clay, thinks Opie is a rat and sets it off to where he's going to have Tig take Opie out. And it gets really dramatic, and like we're all like, nail biting, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And instead of Opie getting killed accidentally, Donna gets killed. And it's just horrible because the whole time, all through season one, Donna had been begging Opie to get out of it. And Stahl was also saying things to Tara and to Donna like, it's only going to end bad. It's only going to end bad. And it did. It ended bad. It really ended bad. And Donna, was a good mom, a good wife, and she ends up getting shot to death because of a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of bullshit. And so everyone's really sad and everyone's in shock going to the funeral. In the meantime, there's still more drama on top of this. So while we're like, oh my God, there's still more stuff going on. Like, there's this girl, she's a young 17-year-old girl, black girl, who is a witness to what happened when somebody else got shot. And now they want to kill her. So Jax when he finally finds out about everything, about Opie and blah blah blah, and Clay lied to him and all this stuff. Jax rushes to go, stop the next tragedy, and he sort of saves the girl and tells her to haul ass and get the hell out of there. And I was kind of like, whew, like, I was really like applauding Jax for being the hero. I mean, he really was. He was the hero in that scene. So where you start in episode one going, oh my God, this guy has a baby and he's involved in all this terrible stuff. How is this going to work? To the final episode where he saves this innocent poor girl who doesn't know shit. I mean, she just happened to be a witness, and now she's going to end up dead because, But he explains it to her real quick. He's like, if you rat, you're going to die. So run. And so she runs away, and, he saves her. And it's like, oh, thank God, And then we're still like in mourning for Donna and trying to figure out what the hell's going to happen to Opie. So, that's pretty much it. There was another scene in one of the earlier episodes in season one where a young girl got raped at the carnival. It wasn't done by any of the gangs. I think it was actually one of the carnival. They found out that it was actually one of the carnival people who did it. But this all goes to show how one thing leads to another. I'm mentioning this. It was I think he was a politician's daughter who got raped. I'm mentioning it because they didn't really stop to think about how things are, and it's sort of foreshadowing how one thing leads to another, how everything is connected. Because they said that it was the clown who raped the girl at the carnival. Now they're like, oh, and they, everybody wanted to kill the clown. Yeah, that's a bad thing to do. Of course, it's a bad thing to do. But this rape caused a lot of uh, paranoia, suspicion, accusations towards a lot of people. And even though it was the clown that was responsible for the rape, they never really stopped to think about when they were beating up the clown before the rape. Yes, they were. They were beating up the clown before the rape occurred. So see how one thing leads to another. Why were they beating up the clown? They really, if you look at that scene where they were beating up the clown, there was no reason to beat up the clown. He was just doing his job. But they beat up the clown, and maybe the clown snapped and decided to take it out on somebody else too. See, you beat somebody up, they feel powerless, and then they go and put that out on somebody else. And this is what I'm getting out of season one. Violence begets more violence. It's a very interesting show. I am still digesting the ending of season one with Donna dead, because I feel really bad for Opie. I feel really bad for Opie. But the finale also showed that Jax did make a decision between Wendy and Tara. As he is waking up to see that Clay lies to him, and he's just sort of growing into this Jax that's going to be more loyal to himself, and to his instincts, and I guess that's telling him to go with Tara rather than Wendy. So that's it. That's pretty much it. I think I've covered mostly the most important parts of what happened in season one. It's a very intense show, and season one, dives right into it. I'm looking forward to watching season two, because I am curious now about what's going to happen to Opie. Um, and uh, oh, I forgot to mention this: the psycho stalker, the psycho stalker, Joshua Kahn, who had followed Tara back to Charming. I think this is also what we call a trauma bond. Not only do Jax and Tara have this high school history romance going on, but Jax killed Khan because Khan was basically trying to, he raped Tara. He was basically, broke and entered into her house with a restraining order, didn't care, was totally psycho. And then Tara got a hold of the gun and shot him, but he was still alive. And then Jax finished the job, because Jax showed up and finished it up. And it was the most dramatic scream of the season. I mean, she was like, ah, she freaked the fuck out. And then they made love with the dead body right there, which was a very interesting scene. Um, but I think that also created a trauma bond. And so there's more to Jackson Tara than just high school sweeties. That's all. That's all I got from season one. And I'm just going to say I do think the show is very interesting. It's got layered characters. There's a couple of questionable writing things that are sort of suspended belief, or almost a plot hole, but they can be overlooked because the action, the pacing, and the characters are definitely worth viewing. So, thumbs up on Sons of Anarchy for being in the same league as the other shows that were popular, like Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. It's in the same league, and it's worthy of watching.